Hello, welcome to Paxton Road TV. I am Sam, Spurs for Life, and this is Talking Points, your weekly Tottenham Hotspur magazine show that we do on Paxton Road, where we talk all things Tottenham. And as usual, we've always got lots and lots and lots of things to talk about our team, Tottenham. This week in the house, we have Sid Spurs, we have Sean Hurl, and we have all the way across the Atlantic, Cody Mack, as in at CoMacDo. Is that how it's said? Am I saying it right? Okay, that's good. That's good. Enough of that. Before we start the show, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Helps us out immensely if you hit that like button. We have over 1,300 people who have now subscribed. Be another one of those. 1,330 something, I think it is. Anyway, just make sure you smash that like. Share all the content as well. Make sure Paxton Road is on everyone's lips. Yeah, I guess so. As is Spurs, it's on our lips at the moment. Let's get into the show. Put the overlay up. This is what we're going to be discussing. How can Conte possibly get more out of the Spurs squad? We've seen what could we say? Interesting performances. I think that's probably the word I'd like to use without using any profanities. We've seen some interesting performances from the Spurs team. Some interesting decisions also from the manager. And as the leader, as the person in charge, he does have to take some responsibility as well. I know there's a lot of fans out there who are saying, "Oh, we can't blame Conte. It's a squad. It's a squad." Well, it is the squad, but there's other teams that have got lesser squads than us, I believe, and who can still put in the effort. And that's all I want us to do. So let us start the show. Let us start with our guest. I'll ask the question. Cody, how can Conte get more out of the Spurs squad? It's going to be one of them shows. It's definitely going to be one of them shows.
He's flummoxed on the first question.
Easy. First and foremost, there has to be health, right? We don't have the type of squad that can withstand injuries, key injuries, and we've got some of those right now. I don't even know how much Oliver Skipp has played since COVID came through us the first time, and we started off that whole string of postponements around the Premier League. Skip's been missing. Romero's been missing. Dyer has been missing. We gave away, loaned or sold 4 of our midfielders, and we only replaced 1 of them. So now we're in a situation where we have 3 senior midfielders to choose from, plus Harvey White, until Skipp comes back. That's not a great situation to be in when you're playing a system that's 3-4-3. I know everybody is sitting around saying we have to move to a 3-5-2. But, I mean, if you put all 3 healthy senior midfielders and there's no room for rotation and there's no room for tactical decisions, there's no room to bring on a midfielder to change the way that the game is going, I just don't know if Conte is willing to take that kind of risk. I'm trying to think why he hasn't made that change already, because it does seem like it would help in some games, some of these games where we've seemed to be overrun in midfield. But let's face it, we have been overrun in midfield for years, right? This isn't a Conte problem. It wasn't a Jose problem. It wasn't a Nuno problem, right? This has been going on for years. And bringing in Bentancur whilst shipping out Dele, Lo Celso, and Ndombele. I know everybody's going to make the argument that those were players that weren't contributing, that didn't want to be here, that maybe had bad attitudes. But it was only in mid-December when all 3 of Ndombele and Dele, and I forget who else started, had significant roles to play in a game against Liverpool where we looked fucking pretty good. The other one, right? Now, I'm not saying that I don't support the outgoings, because I agree with all those reasons. I just think, how have we left this man without the tools to play his system, right? So how is he going to get it? First and foremost, we need a squad that is 100% healthy, and that's a bad situation to be in, because that's just not how football works. I'm sorry. If Dyer's not out, Son's going to be out. If Son's not out, Kane's going to be out. If Kane's not out, Romero's going to be, like, we're always going to be having some players who aren't available. Even Joe Rodon has been playing through cracked ribs, apparently, in the FA Cup game. So,
say crack, man.
Yeah, I mean, Listen, you could make the argument that he's already got more out of the squad than he should have. I mean, if it wasn't for miracles against Watford and Leicester, what kind of shape would we be in sitting here, you know? So I don't know. I don't know what people want, you know? Like you see the reaction on Twitter today to Conte's interview where he says that we have a 1% chance of making top fourth place. I'm sorry, he has been consistent with his messaging from day one that he came to this football club. The situation is not simple, right? The level of the Tottenham is not so high. We'll struggle to get 3 points, 1% chance to get top 4. He has never given anybody a reason to think that this squad is ready to take that step. So I think everyone needs to kind of ratchet back their expectations a little bit because, you know what? If you're out there thinking that we're going to be competing with the likes of Man City and Chelsea and Liverpool, you're in for a rough ride. And Conte, I mean, I think part of his motivation for coming out in the press and saying what he said today is he's trying to take a little bit of the pressure off these players because guess what? Over the years, it's been proven that these chocolate players don't respond to pressure very well. So let's give Conte some time because this year, it's a write-off. It really is. Anything we get from this year is strictly a bonus. That's my opinion.
So again, I so many points in there I agree with completely. Conte has said this from day dot. He said from time he's come in. I think even he was surprised. You know, even looking from the outside, you're thinking, yeah, they're not that great. But then he's gone on to the inside, and obviously more stuff's going to be apparent to him. He's going to see a lot more what's going on at the club deep down. And I guess he has made an assessment. And these players aren't good enough. But you're right. Some of these players just can't play under pressure. And I can't give, as much as I'd like to say, oh, it's the players. I look at other teams. I look at take Newcastle, for instance. I know they've got a bounce. Take Everton as another example. They were horrendous. They've got a new manager in terms of Frank Lampard. They've got a couple of new players in to boost up things. You know, Dele Alli, not the best player in the world because he's come from us. We looked and seen that they've now got some sort of spark because they've got something to achieve. The way that the top four is at the moment, yeah, forget Manchester City, forget Liverpool, forget Chelsea. I think them three, they're on their own. At this moment in time, all the rest of the runners and riders of the top four, Arsenal, Man United, us, Wolves, I'd say apart from Wolves, because the Wolves are pretty consistent. They don't score that many. They don't concede that many. They're pretty consistent in that way. But everybody else is so inconsistent. That top four is still up for grabs. Should Conte, though, and I'll ask you this, Sean, should Conte not have a bit more of a positive approach to that top four because of the fact that the teams around us aren't drawing away? West Ham haven't pulled away. You know, we've got games in hand against them. We could potentially, you know, go on a good run. So I'm looking to the manager to maybe galvanize, maybe instill some more confidence as opposed to saying, well, you know what, that's it. We're only got 1% chance. We're not going to do that well. How's that going to make and inspire the players? Do you think that Conte can be doing more in the press to possibly improve, you know, the confidence of these players?
Well, he's obviously not stupid enough to think that what he says in the press doesn't go back to Hotspur way and the players discuss it amongst themselves. But I think Cody's touched on a really good point in that he said he's been consistent in his messaging. He's reevaluated. He's even said that he evaluated after a month and then asked for more time and came back with another evaluation before they had their sit down prior to the January window. I think, you know, I mean, you could look at it as positive. Before Conte turned up, there was a 0% chance of finishing in the top four, wasn't there? So he's actually increased it by, you know, 100%, if you like. Yeah. So, you know, you could say that, you could exactly say that. But Cody's right. You know, so much is going to rely on injuries, suspensions, other, you know, and a lot of it is out of our hands. You know, we had 3 games in hand on the mob at the other end of the Seven Sisters Road. We've pissed them away and we're behind them. The only way we can recover that is to beat them when they come to our place. Yeah. And even then, they've got a better goal difference than us.
So is it all down to, you know,
I think press-wise, I think Conte's having to play. He's valued the support that we've given him, and I'm sure I can speak for everyone here that we back Conte hashtag back Conte is still our default position. But we do need to rein in our expectations.
Yeah.
And I think I said at the start of the season, but obviously when Nuno was there, top 6 was probably the best we can do. And I don't think anything that's happened this season has changed my view on that. And you're right, Sam, there are opportunities. No one is consistent in that 4th place. The other 3, the big great white sharks of the Premier League, we're the minnows trying to avoid getting eaten by them. Just avoid them. And then we have to fight our own battles with the likes of West Ham, Arsenal, Man United, increasingly Wolves. And, just do what we can. But I think he's doing the best he can with the tools he's got. I do think that he's made some very strange decisions in his last few games. We don't know what the injury health status is of our players. And we don't know how COVID has affected them, because I speak as someone who's not been the same since my visit from Mr. Corona, that, your health does affect, and that really primarily sticks to your lungs. And if you've got no lungs, Premier League's not a very forgiving place.
Again, I'm not going to dispute any of the things that you've said. My only thing though is are we going to? When Conte came in, everybody was like, "Oh, great, he's in. He's almost the savior," and Conte really downplayed all expectations, and rightly so. He's assessed it. He's on the inside. He knows what's what. He knows what he could possibly get out of these players in terms of certain performances. But do you not think, and I'll ask you this, because we're going to look at formations in a minute, and we're going to ask you guys what you think in terms of what your preferred formation, because I don't believe that 3-4-3 is working. It hasn't worked with 2 in midfield at any point in the recent memory of Spurs playing. That goes back to Jose. It goes back to, and Jose didn't really play 2 in midfield that often, but if he did, it doesn't seem to work for me. Nuno, when he went for a 3-4-3, it wasn't going to work. Even when we had the Tanguys, the Lo Celsos, and the Dele Allis in there, it didn't seem to work because we were playing Winks and Højbjerg and Skip. There needs to be more. Is he almost, I hate to use the word self-sabotage, but is his stubbornness then going to be a problem going forward if he doesn't become more adaptable? And I think as a manager, I want to see adaptability. I want to see you change something. You're going to have the same tools. You ain't got a snap-on toolbox. You got an Aldi toolbox, but you still got the same screwdriver. You still got the same hammer. You still got things that you can use, but you might have to be a little bit, I don't know, inventive with how we use them. Is Conte doing enough in your opinion, Sid?
I think with what he's got at his disposal, he's trying to figure out who can play where and how we can get the best out of certain players. Now, everyone knows the wing back and the centre backs are a big concern. He knows when the Chuckle brothers are playing together that he ain't going to get a tune out of anyone. That's Sanchez and Royal. Midfield is a massive problem as well. And sometimes he's very cryptic with what he says. And I've said it many times that I think he's trying to send a message to the board upstairs or a certain individual to say, listen, I need more. But I think the problem is he's now got to look up and look at the system he's playing. It's not working. Everyone knows that. We all know that. And the problem is, and I think Cody Mack's already said it, the injuries is causing a massive problem because Skip, Dyer, that's 2 probably starters he's missing. And unfortunately, he can't find a way around to try and solve that problem. He's tried it a few times. It's not working. Maybe Rodon could have been another one that he could try. But for some reason, we don't know what's going on with Rodon, right? We just don't know whether he trusts Rodon or what. I don't know. So that's the problem there. It's a hard one, isn't it? Because the players that he's tried, they're not working. And the problem he's going to have, which is going to be even worse, is what happens on Sunday against Man City. Because Saturday. He's going to have to put Saturday.
We can't even wait till Sunday. We've got to wait bloody
Saturday. He's got to put out a team that he thinks is going to be good enough that hasn't been good enough for the last couple of games, right? To try and outmaneuver, outfight, out whatever Man City and Pep, and it ain't gonna happen. And I don't know if he's concerned or not, but my biggest concern is if City done what they did yesterday without breaking sweat and resting all their players, if they come out all guns blazing against us, we could absolutely get mullered without having an answer, because we know once we go 1 or 2 down, there's nothing in them players that he can do to motivate him, because the heads just go down. And again, if he sticks to that system, we got a problem. He's going to have to try and change it. But do you try and change it against Man City? Because if it backfires, then people are going to say, well, he's going to be like, I've changed the system and we still got battered. If I don't change the system, we get battered. So he's going to be stuck in a win or no win situation. And I don't know, I've said this from day one, and exactly what Sean said before, Cody Mack said it from day one. He's never once said we're going to be top 4. Ever he said that. And he said it how many times over and over again.
But should that be enough of an excuse for him to then, because it's almost like I see sometimes he's in interviews, and I'm playing devil's advocate because I want Conte to do well. I want Conte to be as honest as he can, but then there is times when he's got to toe the party line sometimes. And what I mean by that is, yeah, he can keep on coming out and saying, oh, we're not good enough, we're not this, we're not that. Transfer window's closed now. He's got what he's got. We ain't got another transfer window until the summer, so he's got what he's got. If he keeps the way that we've seen our players, they're, as Cody said, they're snowflakes, they're chocolate. They don't do well under pressure. You put a bit of heat under them, they melt. There needs to be something else. There needs to be some form of almost like protection for these guys. So when we look at the formations, we're going to look at them in a minute. I want to kind of get from you guys what you think he can do in order to maybe get more out of the players, but also maybe to protect them. Playing 2 in midfield when we've got a back 3 as shocking as they are without certain players in there, to me is a recipe for disaster. I look at other teams and I look if he was a lower league team and they was playing Manchester City in let's say a cup game. We have to treat it like a cup game. They would go there and think we've got nothing to lose. They would still put the effort in. It's the effort levels. I can't accept some of these players' effort levels, but then as a manager, anybody's a leader, surely that must be part of your job to be able to get more out of these players. I know you can only get so much as a ceiling, but maybe do more in-game formation-wise to potentially help these players out. Let me just read this comment here from Simon Seams before we look at some of the formations. Simon, thank you for watching. I've never wanted a manager to be backed so badly. We'll never get another manager on this level again. If we mess it up now, it leaves me feeling so on edge knowing how Conte is as a principled man. Is it just about being backed, Cody, then?
Listen, Conte is a manager whose tactics rely on a lot of different things, right? He wants to play out from the back. He wants to have automations. He wants players to understand where they're going to be on each other on the pitch. You can look at changing formation, going with a back 4, doing the 4-2-3-1. That's not going to change the fact that our center backs can't handle the ball. That's not going to change the fact that we struggle to progress the ball through midfield. If you want to put a 4-2-3-1 out there, you're just asking us to play more direct football. You're just asking us to almost play closer to what Jose Mourinho was doing here than what we're doing right now. So, I mean, you look at this, you look at the squad, and when you keep in mind that this is a manager tactically who wants to rely on wingbacks to create and to play through on the offensive side, you got Dorson on the right-hand side, and then you got Reguilon, who basically hasn't been anywhere near the player that we expected since last Christmas when he got caught out partying and then got himself injured. Who knows how? He's been basically absent for the last 14 months. He hasn't been anywhere close to what we expected. And then you got Sessegnon, who, I mean, is just kind of like a nothing burger so far. He can't get a run out on the team. Got substituted on the weekend unfairly. Nobody wants to get substituted after 25 minutes. I really don't see how a change in formation is going to change that much. It might solidify us a little bit on the defensive side, but it's not going to solve the underlying issues why we can't play the way that Antonio Conte wants to play. The reality is until we get some turnover in this squad, until we get wing backs that we can rely on to create in the final third and to go forward and to take on a man and beat a man, I don't know what else people are going to expect here, you know?
So let me ask a quick question of you, Cody. When Conte came into Chelsea that first time, they were notoriously playing a certain system. They weren't winning. They hadn't won for a while. And then he changed it. He changed it to the 3. And he's primarily gone on from there and played that 3 from the time he's been at his Chelsea days. So I look at it in reverse. The 3's not working, or certainly in the way that we're playing with the players that we've got isn't working. Isn't there an opportunity? I know he's done it as part of right, we're behind now, I've got to change the formation, I've got to change this. Isn't it a case of looking at what we do have, assessing it? As an elite manager, the only reason I'm saying that is because I class him as elite, top 5 manager in the world. I don't believe a top 5 manager in the world should be reliant on one system of play and not be able to adapt. So therefore, it makes me think, is he almost doing this deliberately? And if he is doing that deliberately, is that what we want at this stage of the season? Because I still think we've got an opportunity when those players come back. Do you not think he has enough formation, tactical, strategical flexibility to be able to change things at this moment in time?
Well, yeah, no, he absolutely does. The question comes down to whether or not he believes that the group of players that he has are capable of adapting to what he wants them to do. He doesn't appear to have given up on that prospect yet. You can't really compare what Chelsea had when Conte was managing them to what he's dealing with now. This easily is the worst squad that Conte has ever had to deal with, right? The Chelsea squad that he had, there were players in that squad that were capable of playing multiple formations and being trusted. I don't see a formation where our biggest weakness is eliminated, right? Because usually, there's an old saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link. Unfortunately, when you look at our starting 11, there's not just one weak link. You take one weak link out, you've got no stronger piece to replace it with. Even if you did replace that weak link, there's 4 other weak links that are just as bad as that original weak link. It's that classic scenario where you've got a sinking ship and you've got 10 fingers and 12 holes to plug. Yeah, I'll plug this hole, and then you're still leaking on the other side. So, I mean, I don't know what his plan is here. I don't know if he's going to change. I don't think he's going to go away from the back 3, because I'm sorry, like, a lot of the results that we've been able to generate so far, positive results under Conte, have come from having those 3 center backs in order to have protection for them, to hide their weaknesses. Now, that's gone down the drain a little bit since Eric Dyer was hurt and we didn't have Romero. There was a stretch there, in the Carabao Cup where we were playing Davinson Sanchez in the middle, So it just depends on what his long-term plan is, because if he's looking at this year and thinking, okay, I've gone into the January transfer window, I've got Rodrigo Bentancur and I've got Dejan Kulusevski. How much are these 2 players going to change our prospects for this year? It might be more important to Conte to figure out who in this squad right now is capable of learning how to play the way that he wants to play at the expense of results this year. Because if he doesn't think that we have a legitimate shot at getting top 4, regardless, right? Then he needs to be looking at next year. I'm not saying we give up.
He need to get no.
But
okay,
like
so
it's about like, okay, so like, do 2 wrongs make a right? Right? Because Conte, if in his mind the best manager that he can be involves a back 5, right? But we don't have the personnel to play Conte's tactics or Conte's favored formation. Is Conte a better manager if he goes away from his strength to make up for some of the squad's weakness? I don't know. I don't know if that solves a problem or creates a different one. So you have to trust Conte. You have to, because honestly, I'm looking at this season and the way that things have gone and the manner even in which we've won some games. And I'm thinking, I don't care what happens for the rest of this year. I really don't. I care that Conte is supported, that Conte is believed in, that he is trusted, and that when we get to the summer window, that he's backed. That's my stance.
Okay. So what I think we need to do now, because I think there is, I think there's more he can do. I'm not going to disagree with anything in terms of, he's not got the best pack of cards in the world. I'm not going to dispute any of that. I think, we've done enough shows between us to see, and we've seen enough of Spurs playing to realise there are some glaringly obvious weak links in that team. But there are things that you can do. In my opinion, there are things that you can do that you can. So I'm going to look at the formations, and we can all have a round the table discussion about these formations. I've got a little bit of a couple of graphics here, and it's only based around two formations, primarily around a 3-5-2 and all around a 4-2-1-3 sort of thing. So let's have a little bit of a look at what Sam Spurs for Life has got. Let me get rid of this so at least Cody's in the vicinity as well. Right, okay. So start with this formation here, and I put as much of what I think could potentially be the strongest team, but there might be a couple of provisos in there that you could probably change. So let's have a little bit of discussion. So I think if you played a 3-5-2, I think it could work. And the reason I think it could work is if he plays certain players. Now we all know that Dyer, I think, has to be in the team now, having seen Sanchez for a number of games. He's now back to number 6 for me. He's no longer Sanchez anymore. He got a little bit of a grace, but he's gone back to being number 6. What I saw him do at Wolves on the weekend just shows me this guy can't play under pressure. I don't think he's necessarily a bad footballer, but he can't play under pressure. And once pressure is applied to him, he's gone. I think these three potentially could make a back three, and I think Romero, Dyer, Rodon. I don't know why Rodon hasn't been given an opportunity. And I think he'd even play on that left side where Ben Davies currently is. What it will give you is aerial ability there. I think with Dyer, Rodon, and Romero, you've got aggressiveness in there to be able to win headers, because that's one thing we don't do. Headering, defending from crosses is shocking. I put Bergwijn, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Skip, Reguilon as that 5 across, with Højbjerg playing slightly deeper. Obviously, the wing-backs doing what they're doing. I put Bergwijn in there because it can... if we can't get any better than Doherty or Emerson at the moment, then we've got a problem. So I'll just try something else. And obviously the two up front being a 2. I'll come to you, Sean, firstly. If that's our strongest, let's say that potentially could be the strongest line. I know there's 1 or 2 proviso. What do you think of a 3-5-2 system? Does that negate any sort of weaknesses that we potentially have? I know Cody's mentioned about the back 3, but I think there's enough protection if you have these 3 players as a midfield 3 that could offer protection to these, but it also allows Romero to do what he does better than he does if he's playing centrally, is to maybe attack into these areas. Bergwijn, again, I think he has a potential to do what Conte did with Victor Moses, and I think that could be a possibility. Whether or not he wants to do it, I don't know. What's your thoughts on the actual 3-5-2 system? How would you play it if that was something that you would play?
In modern football, that would be the system that I would pick. And given the squad, the state of the squad, the confidence of the squad, the health of the squad, I would be playing on Saturday evening. I might have some disagreements with the players that you've picked, but that's fine. I would go.
Who would you go with then? Because I've got a couple more graphics. That's why I'm saying that. So just in case, I just wanted to see what your thoughts are.
I think putting Bergwijn at right wing back is a criminal waste of Steven Bergwijn because he's an attacking player.
Okay.
However, now you know how I feel about the favela fuck up, but I would play Lucas Moura there because I've seen him play in that kind of defensive late back, wing back role. And I think he could probably do it. He can get up and down the field. I think he's quite competitive. Whether he wants to do that again, of course, I don't know. And whether he's got the discipline, I don't know. But I would pick Moura over Bergwijn because I think Bergwijn's rightful place might be replacing Mr. Son at the moment.
Interesting.
Because I think Son is not at 100% of his game. But yeah, I mean, all day. That's the formation I would play. Obviously, we don't know what targets in his discussions with Daniel Levy he was given.
Let me say a bit of a caveat. This
up the field. As a fan, I want us to take the FA Cup seriously. I'm not like Cody saying right off this season.
No, I don't want to write it. Let me just add to this, Sean, before you finish off. This isn't necessarily the team that's going to face Manchester City on Saturday because Skip probably won't be fit.
No, he's not available.
And I don't think he'd play Bergwijn there just on a game versus City. But I'm looking at a bigger holistic picture. If we were to have all people available, what would I do? And this is what I think I'd do. And obviously, you guys are giving your opinions as well. Sid, what's your thoughts on the team? How would you change things? Would you look at a 3-5-2 in terms of this type of formation? Well, more of a 3-1-4-2, as I've mentioned.
I'm sort of in agreement with my brother, Sean. 3 at the back. I think them 3 would be perfect. Rodon's obviously because he's got his cracked rib. That's why he's not been playing. But also whether he's out of favour, I don't know. But with Davis on and off, Sanchez definitely, replacing. I think Rodon, Dyer and Romero, that could possibly be what you said as well, Sam. I think that could be ideal. I'm not still convinced with Reguilon, and I agree what Cody Mack said. Man's disappeared, absolutely disappeared, because that chance against, was it Wolves, weren't it? Was it Wolves? No, what Wolves? It was the game before, weren't it? Where Southampton. Man, all day long, all the time in the world, and he just hits it straight at the keeper. I don't know what's wrong with him, and I think what Cody Mack said is spot on. I think since Christmas last year or whatever, and he got on that bender and whatever, I don't know what someone done to him, but he's not the right player that he is. And to be fair, if what the rumours are true about Madrid coming back in for him, I wouldn't. You know what? If they came in for him, I'd allow him to go, and try and get somebody better on that side. Bergwijn for me, I don't think he could do that job. I think he's too lightweight to come
and
back.
Moore isn't. If you
I think Moore's got more strength and more power than I think Bergwijn has to come up and down. I don't think Bergwijn can do it. I don't think he'd be able to do it. I think Moore has been there. I think Sean said, like he said, he's done it before. He's got a bit more aggression to him as well than Bergwijn. And exactly what Sean said, putting Bergwijn in that position, we're going to lose a lot of his creativity going forward, because he can link not only on the right, he can go through the middle, on the left, so he can roam around. The midfield 3, I agree with you. I think them 3 are the best of the bunch that we've got. Only concern is obviously Skip's injured, and Højbjerg's dip of form recently has been horrendous. So you'd have to motivate him a hell of a lot. But I think it's in there. But I think everybody else has to rally around him. Top 2, you can't complain with. But again, I agree with Sean. Set number Son is not been having the best of form at the moment. And if you was to swap him with Bergwijn, put Bergwijn there and put Moura where Bergwijn is, I think that could be another possibility. But that system could work.
Okay. Cody, if this is a system you like, you don't have to like it. Where does creativity come from, and how would you change this and adapt this potentially to make it more creative, if that's the case?
Well, I'd bring in some different players in January is what I would have done.
I'm only going by what we've got, because if we'd have brought in certain players, I agree with you. This might be a whole different team. But anyway.
So I like this. I like this a lot. And Sean and Sid, respect your guys' opinion, absolutely. But how is putting Bergwijn at right wing back a waste of his talent when he's not going to get into the team ahead of Kane and Son? You know, if you think back to when Jose was here, Bergwijn was
the case he should be getting ahead of Son.
Oh, I'm not gonna defend that at all. Not gonna defend that at all. Don't get me started there. But like Bergwijn,
the man that can't get past a player unless they're standing still.
Bergwijn under Jose, I thought he was quite good defensively. I thought he held his own. His work rate was excellent, and he was defending all the way back into the corner flag because of how deep we were playing, waiting to counter. You think about Bergwijn, I would take him at right wing back over Lucas all day long, because Lucas, every time that Lucas, like when has Lucas had a great game playing out on the wing as of late? If you go back about a year, the best stretch that we've seen from Lucas Moura was last March when Jose moved him centrally. That's where Lucas is most effective, when he has space to move either direction, where he has Son to play that 1-2 move with. He always gets lost down on that touch line down the side. Bergwijn, he's got good pace. I think he's a decent defender. He's got good work rate. He can cross. He's got the skill to take a man on. He's got hold up play. He would be good on the counter. Like how is Bergwijn at right wing back more of a waste than having one of Dorson playing right wing back? You know, I would love to see Bergwijn get a run out at right wing back, because if you ask the player, yeah, maybe it's not where he wants to play, but I would rather be on the pitch than on the bench, even if it means I'm playing out of position. So, you know, if we were seriously in for Adama Traore to come and play right wing back, I don't see why Conte wouldn't consider Bergwijn for this role, unless Bergwijn is refusing to do it. But generally, I see nothing. I don't see much wrong with this. I mean, the biggest problem is the limitations that are going to exist in any formation that I've discussed already. Our ability of our center backs to play out from the back, and our ability to progress the ball through our midfield. So, but yeah, I have no issues with this.
So I look at this and I see a lack of potential because of the way it's set up. And if you're going to play a 3-1-4-2, Højbjerg of the players is probably going to be the one that would naturally play deeper. He seems to like to drop into this back three anyway. He seems to like to drop into the back four when Jose was. So I don't see any reason why. I think we've been asking him to play a different role. And I think it's probably not fair because his skill set doesn't necessarily match what we possibly want from him in a 2. Hence the reason why I don't think it works with any player with Højbjerg in a 2. I think you're going to get the best of him to play to your strength, which you would do for most players. So there might be a potential lack of creativity here. Hence the reason why a slightly different bit of the formation, and this is the change in the formation slightly, but still adapted to the 3-5-2, where you could potentially look at having a bit more creativity and certainly having a bit more of an attacking threat if you play the 3-4-1-2 as opposed to the 1-4-2. The team, again, looking at it, and I've just made a couple of slight tweets in there. Davis, you could probably put Joe Rodon in there or any other defender you want, because I think that left side of defense is going to be where we're going to have a bit of a problem. I don't believe Sanchez can play there. We've seen that. I don't think Tanganga is going to be the person to play there either. So you are limited to either Davis, potentially, or Rodon, because I think Dyer and Romero in these 2 positions are pretty much set, in my opinion. But Kulusevski, the reason I put him in this 10, I've seen enough of him now to think I don't see him as that natural wide player. I don't think he's got enough pace. He certainly hasn't got explosive pace. He might have a good degree of pace once he gets up to speed, but that burst of pace, I don't see it. But he seems to have enough ability to be able to maybe operate in this area and maybe operate here. So potentially, maybe we've got a bit more creativity if he is in the side. Sean, what's your thoughts on a slight adaptation to the 3-5-2 to get creativity in there? And would you necessarily put Kulusevski in there? Would you maybe think about putting Skip in there or Bentancur and having Højbjerg in there, and maybe Kulusevski doesn't get a game? What's your thoughts?
It looks remarkably like a 3-4-3 to me. I can see Conte liking this formation of 3-5-2 more than the one that we agreed on earlier. Jury's out on Kulusevski. I think he's obviously a young player. He's coming to a new league, and you know, I think he's got a good left foot, and as you say, not blistering pace. I mean, given that the player that should be there would be a fully functioning Tanguy and Ndombele, he's probably the best option we've got with the current squad. And this is kind of what we're having to stick to tonight, is who we've got at the moment. You know, again, with my my reservations about Steven Bergwijn, I think that's, again, I could live with that. I could live with that.
Who would you put there? Would you put Royal or Doherty in that position? Because like I said, this is what I just saw in my head, is what could I change? Because I'm looking at the fact that if we're keeping on playing Royal, he can't cross. Doherty has got no confidence. I just don't see him getting to any sort of standard which we can learn from attacking or defending point of view. Emerson's the same. I think he's going to need more time if that's the case. But I think I've seen enough to know that you're going to have a hell of a lot. There's no natural crossing or attacking ability in this guy without a lot of coaching. And you're going to have to work really hard with this guy. I know he's only 23, but there's no natural ability about him attacking-wise. Hence the reason for Bergwijn on that side, because he does have that. He does have that.
Well, I mean, certainly I would say that Emerson is at the back of the queue for that position, because he's obviously a back four player. He's from the traditional Barcelona, which is the academy he came through, right back. With the Alves or the Sergio Dest or whatever. But I think, yeah, I mean, we're gonna have Dorothy on the bench, because he's a senior player and he's an international, and he seems to be able to turn it on when he's wearing green. But when he puts a white shirt on, it's not the same thing. But he's going to be there or thereabouts.
We have a green shirt.
Yeah, we did have a green shirt once. Yeah, but I think it's mix and match. If Bergwijn was being considered for wing back, I don't think he would have turned it down.
Yeah.
If Conte could make the case to him and say, "Look, we need you to do this for me.
Okay.
Can you do this for me? Yeah. You'll get to play every week."
In any of these systems,
I get the feeling that Conte doesn't see that in him.
Well, I want him to try something else, because if I see against Manchester City either of those two that we've mentioned, Emerson or Doherty, I don't think we've got enough. We don't have enough defensively, and we don't have enough attacking wise. So make a decision. Either we're going to go for it or we're not going to go for it, and then do accordingly. Sid,
I'd rather have Marcel Lavidier in there. And I'm not joking, because he's an ex-Chelsea Academy product. Yeah. Why aren't we trying him?
Potentially, you're right. Sid, just again, not so much concentrating on the names necessarily, but more the formation. How would you see this working? Would you make any sort of adaptations to it in terms of the personnel? I know the wing back we've already discussed about Bergwijn. What about on the left hand side? Is Reguilón still the number one choice for you?
What we've got, you can't trust none of them, can you? You can't trust Sessegnon in there. Although, on current form, it might be worth giving him a chance, because he can't do any worse than what Reguilón's done. Reguilón's very good going forward, but at times when he gets to that position, sometimes he's woeful, and then get him back. Whereas with Sessegnon, at least we know he's capable of doing that, because he'd done it at Fulham. He'd done it when he went on loan as well. So we know he's got an end product. Defensively, okay, I think defensively both of them are touch and go, but if it comes to an attacking-minded left back, then I think Sessegnon's got more in him, and I'd probably trust him more than I would with Reguilón. The only other thing I would say,
the only left back that's kept Salah quiet this season.
Yeah, but
He had a good game that day. He had a very good game that day.
That's once, isn't it? One every blue moon. I want my left back and my right back and my right wing backs, left wing backs.
He get picked again.
But then there's obviously issues going on there, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. We've got a problem either side, no matter what. The only other thing as well is my with this formation, my concern would be Kulusevski, because all right, he's only been with us for a couple of games, but I don't think defensively he's that not clued up, but I don't think he gives enough to come back to defend. I'm not. People might say I'm being harsh, but he's only been there a couple of games. He's only played half a game or whatever. But if he was going to play that formation, I'd personally put Mora there, because I think we get more out of Mora defensively and going forward as well.
You see, the thing is with the formation that we played with the 3-4-3, if you look at it, we have been playing like a 2-1. It's been like 2 10s with Kane in front. So it is pretty much a 3-4-3, this system. But what we don't have is enough discipline that when we haven't got the ball, that one of these three, if that was Mora, Kane or Son, to really drop in there defensively. So I'll come to you, Cody, on this one. Do you see any real differences between this and the 3-1-4-2 that you might think, oh, well, that can work? Or do you want to just rip this apart and say it's not what you see? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't too bad. It's like Sean was saying, it's eerily similar to what we're doing at the moment. I wonder what would happen if we put Kane where Kulusevski is in this diagram and paired Heung-min Son with somebody else, whether that's Lucas Moura, because let's face it, right now the player that's making the most happen out of midfield and has been for probably since Jose got here is Harry Kane. You know, Harry Kane is the only player, except maybe we've brought Bentancur in now, who's shown a little bit of vision, but Kane, he made the pass through to Bergwijn against Leicester. He made the pass through to Lucas against Southampton to give us the lead, you know, where Lucas crossed it onto Son. Kane, is he wasting energy by being put this far up the pitch and then having to just drop deep all the time and then try and get himself back into the play? Would he be better suited to just be staying in that deep position to make the link-up play and then move forward into the play? I don't know. But he's being asked to do two jobs, two players' jobs, and he's only one man. So we have to decide where is the best place for Kane to be on the pitch right now. And yeah,
Cody, your number 10 is your main striker. Would you want your striker to be a number 10 instead of an actual out-and-out striker? Because that's his role, isn't it? I know what you're saying. I totally agree with you. He's been our best creative midfielder by far. But would you sacrifice his goal-scoring ability and talent to put him in that position? And then people are going to then start complaining, saying he's not scoring goals.
No, like the way I see it is that it wouldn't eliminate Kane from being high up the pitch in dangerous areas. What it would do is eliminate a little bit of the distance that he has to cover, right? Instead of starting high up the pitch, having to drop deep and then get himself back up the pitch, that would just be his role, to just be deep, to make that link up play before he gets himself involved. I mean, he's sitting on 5 goals. Let's be real. It hasn't been a great year for Harry Kane, and this relationship between Harry Kane and Heung-min Son is a big problem for Spurs right now, because you look at the way that they were having a telepathic relationship under Jose Mourinho, and they were not just, it wasn't just a matter of coaching, I don't think. I think what happened in the summer has really damaged this relationship between the two of them. You know, it used to be a relationship filled with generosity, and it's not like that anymore, you know. And I if there was one thing that I would criticize Son for, it's that he is no longer looking for Kane. And there's several examples that you could point to throughout the year. But when we played Newcastle away, there was one play where Son had a perfect opportunity to just square it to Kane for an easy goal, and he took the shot himself. And I've never seen Kane and Son screaming at one another like that. And that was, for me, the alarm bells that something was really wrong. And I was hoping that after Conte came in, that part of what he was going to be able to do would be repair this relationship between the two of them. But even against Wolves, you know, Bentancur played Son through all alone. And I mean, option number one would have been for Son to continue his run and finish like we were so used to seeing him do it. But he stopped his run, and Harry Kane came in late. And what did Son do? He cut in onto his left foot and had a bit of a dribble, scuffed it a bit right into the keeper. And I think last year, Son lays that off for Kane, and Kane wallops it into the back of the net. So there's more questions than answers, and I'm not sure that it's all about formation at this point.
Yeah, I think there is a relationship.
It's a really good point there, Cody, actually, because that relationship is damaged, and it was damaged in the summer. I think when Son signed his new contract, it was under the impression that he was going to be the franchise player. And when Kane didn't get his move, it kind of, you know, I mean, I think there is something in that. Yeah, I mean, I've not thought about that until you just raised it. So thanks for bringing that to the party, because I think it is important. It hasn't been as fluid between the two this season.
It's something that's quite apparent when you watch the games. I saw the game on Saturday where, you know, Kane was trying to shoot through players. He was trying to take on 1-2, and he wasn't even actually looking to play that pass into Son. And that's what I noticed. So I've noticed that, and I think Cody touched on it. Maybe that does go back to the summertime. Maybe that goes back to because remember in pre-season when Son was playing up top, he looked like he wanted to be the man. He was taking all that on his shoulders. He was like, yeah, I'm going to be this, because we knew that, or we thought Kane was on his way out when they did all that big hug between him, Deji, and Kane at the end of last season. But that changed. So again, we have to look at these. They're human. So he's like, well, hold on a minute. I'm not going to be the main man. Maybe slightly now has been affected by that. The injury, coming back from the injury as well, that he had a hamstring injury. Someone was also saying, is Son potentially playing within himself because, he has bursts of pace, but he doesn't always have them consistently like he had been, possibly before his injury. I don't know. I'm going to look at the other two formations slightly quicker. And again, they're very, very similar in terms of the 4-2-3-1. But this is a 4-1-2-3. And I've just kind of, gone back to the traditional back four with Emerson being in the back four now. Romero, Dyer being the main two centre-backs. I think if you're going to play a back two, they are the best two centre-backs. Midfield three, then if you're going to play a one, Højbjerg, Bentancur, Skip, and then a front line, or front three, should I say, Mora, Kane, and Son. And again, substitute any players in there that you want. Sid, does the 4-2-1, again, I'll just show you the next one down. Slight adaptation would be to possibly have 2 and 1, where Kulusevski, again, substitute who you want in there. So just going back up, is 4-2-3-1 or a formation of it something that you think could work, given that we were doing that all through Poch era mostly, some of Jose's era mostly? Is that something we could Conte could potentially look at?
Well, the two centre-backs there are solid, so you wouldn't be looking at them to be looking at the third one, saying, like, for example, if it's Sanchez or whoever, where is he? Do I have to cover him? So these two would be solid together because they both can read each other, and together they probably would be the best, like you said, and they'd be solid. Again, it could work, Reguilon on that side and Emerson Royal on that side, because if everyone's saying he's used to playing as a four, in a back four, then that could work. The middle three, yeah, again, because you know what's going to happen, don't you? You know Højbjerg is going to go a bit deeper in that position. My only concern
sorry to interrupt you. Again, the difference for the reason I've got two different kind of formations in this sense is, I would say one, primarily you would want to play more defensively. This probably is more of a defensive lineup.
Defensive.
You maybe want to play that away from home. This one, you could look to say that's probably a little bit more attacking in terms of having a number 10 in there, which you might want to play at home. But again, it's horses for courses. It's players playing when they have got the ball and they haven't got the ball. I think a lot of these systems, to play them well and to lessen the amount of work that this player has to do, and we talked about Kane being in there, if you haven't got enough possession, he's going to be doing more defensive work. So that would be my only concern of playing Kane in this role. If we don't have decent amount of the ball, he is going to be doing more defending than he's attacking. And do you want Kane to be in and around these areas too much, having to then break into counter attack? I don't think so. So again, maybe a slight adaptation depending.
It could work. I mean, we've got, like you said, we've got cover at the back, we've got cover in the middle, we've got a little bit of, if Skip wants to push forward or Bentancur in the other formation, you've got Kulu or whoever, it can work. And then you've got the two, Son and Mora with the pace and whatever, Kane being the fox in the box kind of thing. It could work. But again, it's just all our opinions, isn't it? It's what Conte feels, and it's whether Conte feels that formation can work for him. But he's got to try it, hasn't he? What he's trying at the moment is sort of not working, so he's got to try it, and you've just going to have to stop playing. If he thinks we're not going to get the top four, then he needs to stop playing with the systems and see which one he can get a tune out of every one that's going to work. Whether it be this one or the other one, he's got to try it somehow, because you can't keep trying the system that's failing, expecting it to work, because it ain't going to work. If it's not working for the last couple of games, it ain't going to work.
Remember the personnel, though. So what about the personnel coming in? That might change things slightly. Let's say Skip was available. Let's say Dyer's available for Saturday. Would he then possibly say, you know what, I'm going to maybe try this 3-4-3 again just to see? Because the stats show that with Dyer, Højbjerg, and also Skip, in the games that they've played together, not conceded any goals. It was on Match of the Day too. And without them three, there was a whole load of goals that we conceded in less games. So there might be a possibility that he might think it's just the players coming back that would help.
See, it's like you said, if Dyer, Skip, and Højbjerg all come available on Saturday, he can play any formation with them in that formation, and it could potentially work. Because, like you said, if we play this formation with them three in there, it can work. If he goes back to the back three with Dyer, Romero, and Rodon or Davis, Skip, Højbjerg, and Bentancur in the middle, or whoever, it can work. If all three are available, I think any formation he tries potentially can work and cause City problems.
Cool. Cody, are you a fan of the 4-2-1-3 or any sort of adaptation to it? And would it be something that you would look to play, or is it a case of you just don't think we've got the personnel to do it?
Okay.
I like the breath.
Okay, so in 30 minutes at home against Southampton, from the point in which they scored the second of 3 goals against us to the 18th minute against Wolves, where they scored their second goal, we conceded 4 goals in 30 minutes. Okay? Now, you cast your mind back to each one of those goals and think about how open we looked like in the box, and you want to take a defender out. Okay, like Eric Dyer, yeah, he might be one of our better center backs. He might be second best behind Romero. He's not worth 2 players. I'm sorry. No, there's. I really don't think that there's any way that you can put a back 4 together that's going to make us more solid defensively. And what's our biggest problem right now? We can't defend, right?
Yeah.
So the answer is no.
I mean, I can introduce another issue as well, Sam, is that part of defending is being able to clear your lines. Clearly, we did not do that on both of those 2 games. And you're relying on Højbjerg, who gave the ball away how many times against Southampton?
17.
I know what you're going to say. I'm trying to base this on the players playing at their level, playing in positions where I think they're going to get the best out of them. And the reason I put Højbjerg in the team, yes, he's not played well this season. I don't think his season's been
my pet project would play better than Højbjerg. He passes better than Højbjerg.
However, my only thoughts about
Højbjerg pass better than Højbjerg, Sid.
Okay, you're going to argue. We're going to get some more arguments in a minute. What point about Højbjerg is, I think he's been playing in one of these 2 positions too often. We didn't buy him for that. We never bought him
That's
to
what
be.
He does for Denmark, isn't it?
I know, but he's playing for Denmark. Do you know what I'm saying? At Spurs, it's slightly different. We didn't buy him for that, you know, and potentially Denmark may be a bit more of a defensive team. They've got more players who are that like-minded, so they can maybe afford to maybe put Højbjerg. But I don't think he's the most progressive player. I don't think he's the most creative player. I don't necessarily think he's got the most pace in there. I don't even think he's the most mobile. So why would you want him to be doing work in these areas when he's going to have to be traveling all over the place doing all of this? What I've seen him do quite well is slot in here, slots in there. He goes into this back 3 often, picks the ball up. Hence the reason why he's got so many high passing stats, because he's always getting the ball off the back 2 or back 3, whatever it is we've got in there. He likes that role. When he's up top, he can do to a degree some of it, but I wouldn't want him to be our creator, our box to box, because I don't believe more adept at doing this job, the enforcer job. That's my only thoughts about Højbjerg being in there, as opposed to Winks, because I don't think Winks is an enforcer, although Winks could play the quarterback role in here. Defensively, with 2 in there, you're going to need someone who's more of an enforcer, and that's the reason why he would be in here as a 2. The other thing is, if you've got 2 in there, it's less complicated. We've seen with the 3, they're not organised enough. So if you've got more players in the back 3, there's more organisation to do. Do you know? That's why Dyer is so critical to the back 3, because what I saw on Wolves, there was no organisation. So going back to the point, does anybody think that 4-1-2-3 or 4-2-3-1 has any relevance? No, Cody's saying no. That's a thumbs down from Cody.
I told you early doors, 3-5-2 for me every time.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play this system, does he? No matter what. And I think like what Cody Mack is saying, we can't defend with 3. How are we going to defend with 2? Yeah, he's just not going to play the system, no matter what. Even if they're all at their disposal, he's not going to play this system, because if it goes tits up, you know, he's going to get hammered for it. So he ain't going to play it, no matter what. He ain't going to play this system.
Right. Can we play 2 goalkeepers?
Can they learn to be brickies and they can just stick a wall up in front of our goal?
Would you trust the 2 goalkeepers we've got together?
God.
Put Alfie White. Recall Alfie Whiteman or put Brandon Austin there.
Yeah.
Poor Alfie Whiteman. He comes back off of loan and then they send him back straight back there.
Exactly.
No, you put Galini. You put Galini right in the middle because he's not going to move. Okay, so you got that spot. That's your job. Just don't move.
Sure, I'm going to start with you. We're going to touch on quickly on last couple of topics on here. In-game management. Have you seen enough from Conte to suggest that his in-game management? I'm not going to use the word up to standard because he's an elite manager. I'm not. But I've seen enough to kind of think, that substitution was a bit late. That change in the tactic was a little bit late. Well, maybe he could have done that. And what I saw from him on Sunday, he actually almost admitted by making that substitution of Sessegnon that he got things wrong. So has he done enough in-game to prove that he is the elite manager that everybody keeps saying he is? And I agree that he is. What's your thoughts?
I think he's made some mistakes. You know, his substitutions have been strange. You know, I mean, how Sanchez stayed on the field on Sunday, I have absolutely no idea. I mean, he could have, you know, he could have gone to a back four and brought, I don't know, Reguilon on, or but I don't know. There are other. He seemed to put square pegs into round holes in substitutions. However, equally, I mean, his substitutions against Leicester worked. So, you know, it's a fine line. I just think his squad is completely unbalanced, and I think, as Cody has already illuminated, you know, a fundamental part of his system, which he believes in, which has won him everything that he's won, requires wing backs who are up to the mark, and we're okay on the left, no more than that, and we are deficient on the right. So I think, it's difficult. I think, you know, I think our squad hampers him doing much to change, the game.
Okay.
Unless he gets something, unless he plays something out of the David Pleat handbook and plays 4-5-1 or something, you know. Which I hope he does on Saturday, because we're going to get our asses handed to us.
I hope we're allowed to play with 12 men, and I'm not talking about the crowd. I'm hoping we're allowed to play with 12 men.
We could play with. I was listening to the last, View from the Lane, the Athletic podcast. They said we could have 13 players on there, we'd still lose to Man City. So, yeah, and I tended to agree with them.
Cody, I saw you looked a bit exasperated. There was a frown on your face when I mentioned in-game management. What's your thoughts about Conte's in-game management? What have you seen that you like? What have you seen that you dislike? Do you think his decisions have been the right ones? Obviously, he's not going to get everything right, but in general, what's your take on Conte's in-game management?
I think when he first came in, we were all looking at his substitutions like they were a little bit later than maybe we would have liked. But at the same time, we were getting good results. We really were. Those first 10 games under Conte, 6 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss. That's excellent. We take that all day. That's top 4. If you go multiply that by 3.8, you get top 4. So maybe we didn't like the way he was doing it, but the results were coming. Now, as January window is closed and we've changed some of the personnel and reduced some of the options available to him, like you say, him hauling off Sessegnon against Wolves is an admission of him getting it wrong. You cannot account for Hugo Lloris doing what he did against Wolves. You cannot account for players defending the way that they did. You cannot account for 5 players standing in a line on the edge of the box, ball watching, while 3 Wolves players have a crack at our goal. You can't account for that kind of shit. The only thing that he was really conceding by hauling Sessegnon off is that we were down 2-0 and he had to make a change to try and get us back into the game. Now, I thought we played a little bit better there in the second half, and maybe with the result being what it was not much to write home about. But he did praise some of the players for their performances in the second half, and we did have a better stranglehold on the game. But I mean, you look at this. You look at the starting lineup that includes Davies, Sanchez, Doherty, and Winks, and Sessegnon. And then you look at the bench, and you've got the likes of Royale, Roden, Harvey White, Dane Scarlett. I just don't know. We don't really. The only time that we end up with a player on our bench that can affect a massive change in the game is if we don't put our best starting line out there. That's really the situation that he's in right now. He doesn't have players. Who is the top substitute that he can bring in to affect the outcome of a game?
So the only person I've seen, and it depends on who starts. So I would say if it was me, Moore would be more of an impact player for me. But at the moment he's playing, so it's got to be Bergwijn.
Bergwijn came on. He obviously, that was a miracle against Leicester. Mm-hmm. He was 4 inches offside from scoring late and getting us a point against Southampton. So, I mean, yeah, I don't really see, like, thing is, like, winning takes care of itself. So when you win, you look at those substitutions and you think that was good. And when we lose, you look at the substitutions and you think that was bad. But the reality is it's a threadbare squad. It's a threadbare squad. We have 4 senior midfielders when they're all healthy, and they're not. You know, it's not a great position to be in, to be looking at your bench and thinking that Harvey White is going to be the one to come on to change a game. And that's probably the position that he looks at when he's, you know, resistant to switch to this 3-5-2. So, yeah, I don't know. Listen, if you give a baker water, yeast, salt, and olive oil, is he going to be able to make bread? No, because he's got no flour. You got to give him the ingredients to make the bread. You can't just give him 4 out of the 5 ingredients and say, go make bread, you know? But
you've got that one wrong, Cody. Isn't that supposed to be to PRTv for cooking?
Don't get me started.
Okay. Sid, what's your thoughts about the in-game management?
You've heard me, and I've said it before on the group as well. I think Southampton was a prime example. At half-time, we were getting trounced, and he didn't make any substitutions at half-time. He decided to keep... Was it Southampton?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was 1-1.
Yeah,
but yeah, we were second best. Yeah,
yeah, and amount of times we were losing the ball, and everyone in the ground could see how poor Højbjerg and Sanchez and all them lot were, and he just didn't change it up at all. I've lost my headset. There's been other games as well, you know, but it's like what Cody was saying. He changes it, we win the game, everyone's happy. He doesn't change it, we lose the game, no one's happy. So he's sort of stuck in a situation, and I 100% agree with what Cody Mack said in terms of, what do you call it? When it's time to make a substitution and he's looking on the bench, there's no one there, you know, and who can make a massive impact to the game? There isn't anyone. So he's sort of stuck in a way where he's trying to delay it as long as possible, because he's thinking, if I bring somebody else off the bench, they're not as good as what I've already got on that pitch. So what do I do? So I think he's stuck in that compromising position where he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. But sometimes you've got to take that risk. If it's not happening, it's not happening, and you can't, you know, just try it, see what happens.
So I go back, Cody. You made a very good point about the errors that were conceded. That he had to make that substitution. I agree with you on that, because nobody can legislate for what Lloris did with that flapping and then the pass and then the compounded by Ben Davies. So yeah, my point about that though, in terms of the in-game management, I don't believe that was the right decision. I think he needs to make a substitution, but the player he brought off then didn't allow us to then get back in the game, if that makes sense. If he'd have taken Ben Davies off and then gone to the back four and had Sessegnon, I think Sessegnon would have been more attacking down that left-hand side. So again, it was the right change to make, because I think we had to do it, but maybe the person that you take off wasn't the right person. Because now you saw what the body language of Sessegnon was like. He looked like a small child that had been taking sweets off. He was head down, trudging around. I don't know if this guy's going to be able to recover in the next week or so. He might, obviously, in the next few weeks, but he's going to need a lot of management. Again, that goes with the management side of things. Does he recognize that this player, or does he care? Should he not have any care about how a player feels? I'll ask you that. Does it not matter how a player feels, or is it a case of Conte's just making a decision and he thought it was the best one at that time?
Yeah, I think he's just clearly trying. I mean, obviously the manager always is going to think that he's making the best decision at the time. And he's not taking Sessegnon off and thinking, man, I really should take off Davies at this point. Like I think he realized he was going to make a systematic change where we were going to move from having a back five to a back four, or however you want to say, two center backs at the back. And he's thinking, okay, I've got Davinson Sanchez and Christian Romero in the middle. How am I going to best solidify our back line for when we inevitably have to deal with pressure from Wolves, because we're going to be going after them now? I heard I really didn't rewatch the game, so it's hard to
don't do it.
Criticize what Sessegnon was doing. But one reaction that I had seen on YouTube somewhere is that Sessegnon had an opportunity to make some underlapping runs, and he wasn't doing it. Now, I'm not saying that justifies him coming off, especially when, Ben Davies is the one giving the ball away for that second goal. He could have taken Davies off. I wouldn't have had a problem with that, but would it have changed the outcome of the game? Not entirely sure.
Yeah, you're right.
It could have been a seniority thing. Maybe he wanted to give Davies a chance to make amends for his big mistakes. It's not like the crowd turned on Sessegnon and looked at him. Thing is, if you sub Davies, then what's the crowd reaction going to be, right? Now, Davies is a man. Sessegnon is becoming a man. So I don't think Ben Davies would have taken abuse from the crowd as he walked around, and it would have ended him. But Sessegnon got a nice ovation. Everybody in the ground realized that it wasn't Sessegnon's fault why he was being substituted. And when he got to Conte put his arm around him, said something to him. I'm sure it was encouragement. Does it change the fact that Sessegnon feels hard done by? Probably not. But you're going to have to face adversity as a young player, and he's got to respond to it.
Yeah. No, all points correct. I just think when I saw that, and I thought Ben Davies is still on the pitch, and I just thought from an attacking perspective, is Ben Davies the player that I want on that left-hand side that's going to get me back into the game? I appreciate he's probably a better defender, and I appreciate he's going to protect those other two, but we were already 2-0 down. So I just thought we can lose 4-0. We're not going to get 3 points out of this. So why not keep the guy on, see if he can get us back in the game attacking-wise, give him that confidence. Ben Davies can recover. If you'd have taken Ben Davies off, as you said, he's a man, he can take it. I just think there's a fine balance between the player that's Sessegnon, because I've seen in the documentary, he's not the most vocal. He's 21 years of age. He's a kid. He's still a kid. He's supposed to be 21 years, supposed to be a man, but he's a kid. And in that environment, having to do that with the fans there, I felt for him. But I hope he can. I hope he's been talked to anyway and has some good words said to him. Right, let's do this last part, because I know that time's running on. We've got to be finished very soon. Different tools. I think it's very clear that Conte is said enough to suggest that he doesn't have all the tools in his toolbox that he wants, but he does have a toolbox. As I said, my analogy earlier was he doesn't have a snap-on toolbox, but he's got an Aldi one, and it's still got the hammer in there. It's still got the screwdriver in there. He just might not have a flathead one in there, but he's still got a screwdriver. Has Conte just been unlucky with injuries, or is there more that he could do with the personnel that he's got to potentially get better outcomes? Now, we've looked at the formations, but I'm just looking at the players. Now, we talked about the youngsters. Have we seen any youngsters being given an opportunity? Harvey White. We know that Markandé didn't get an opportunity. Scarlett, again, probably too young to maybe be thrust into this. But surely that's the idea. I look at Arsenal. They threw Saka in. They threw Emil Smith-Rowe in at the time. They've thrown Martinelli in. Talented players, I know. And you're probably saying that they're better players than we've got, but they tried it. Why can't we do the same? Are we just going to blame the tools, or is there an aspect of maybe he needs to try different things? And I'll ask you that firstly, Sean A., who looks like Yoda with that hood on, apparently.
Well, I mean, when as Cody outlined at the start of the show, how denuded our squad has come after January, you would hope that, you know, there would be some academy talent that could be used. I mean, in the comments, I noticed a few people have brought in Paskotsi, who's the Estonian, and I mean, I've liked what I've seen of Harvey White. You know, certainly would be the best free kick taker in our squad, because I don't want to ever see Kane take a free kick on the outside of the box ever again. He's still living off the memory of Villa Park. And how long ago was that? I think, I mean, Harvey White, Pascotti, you know, even Lavinia. I mean, I've heard good things about Lavinia, and he's got a good, he's got a good, you know, he's had a good upbringing. You know, we got him from the Chelsea Academy, so they don't, you know, I don't mean that he's why don't we try him on the right hand side? He seems to, you know, I mean, let's try something. But anyway, I would hope that we would see younger players. Yeah, I want us to try them, particularly if it's looking increasingly likely that we're not going to get top 4, top 6. You know, the only thing we're going to go for then is the FA Cup.
Well, if Conte said, and if Conte said in that interview that it's only a 1% chance of getting top 4, surely then odds are we're not likely to get top 4 by his own assessment. This would be, in my opinion, the time to experiment. If that is the case, I don't think Daniel Levy's going to have that personally. So I think maybe that's going to be something that might get discussed behind closed doors. For that admission to say that is again, the things that I think Conte's honesty has maybe just been a bit too honest. You know, maybe he could have said, oh, well, our chances are looking not so good. But to say 1% chances, basically saying we've got no chance. And although that might be right, do you really want your manager to be saying that constantly? How does that affect the players? What's that affecting us as fans? Oh, well, we've got nothing to look forward to now. We may as well just turn up and just watch the game or not watch them. Again, it's these sort of things which, again, I'm looking at and saying, is he doing this with a purpose behind it, or is it just him just being too honest? Sid, has he got enough tools? Do you think he should be using some of the other tools from the youngsters?
I think we must be the only club, one of the, allegedly big clubs, that don't use the youngsters. City do it, Chelsea have done it, Arsenal have done it, Man United are doing it. I think Wolves have done it as well. They've West Ham are doing it. They're all doing it.
19-year-old on against us in midfield on Sunday.
That's what I'm saying.
Don't you tear your hair out when people say we've got a world-class training facility?
That's all we've got. We haven't got a good. We haven't got any.
Where are the players that are, you know? You might have a nice building, but you don't seem to be doing the thing that it's there for, which is to produce young talent that could go into our first team squad.
This is it.
Agreed.
And we're not giving none of them an opportunity. All right, he's put them on the bench, but on the bench means nothing. Yeah, I mean, United brought them to, is it Savage's son and that Asian boy in the Champions League, made them give a debut, right? And we've got players that everyone's saying, oh, this guy's good. Scarlett's going to be shit hot. Harvey White's going to be shit hot. Lavinia's going to be this, that, Makandai. And then we're not giving them an opportunity at all. Not even 5 minutes, not even 10 minutes, you know, not even 2 minutes. Like a lot of these top professionals are getting 2 minutes. We're not even getting none of that. So what is the point? Like Sean said, what is the point of having one of the top training facilities in the world, but we're not developing or producing anything to come out of it to play for our own team when we're in dire straits at the moment. And going back to what you were saying, Sam, Conte's just saying that because he's going to keep saying it and he's going to keep emphasizing it and knocking it into Daniel Levy's head that this squad is not good enough and I need more players. And whichever way, I mean, that 1% thing is another dig to say, I'm not going to commit myself to top 4 when you're not committing yourself to giving me the players that I wanted in January. I've only got 2. We got rid of 4. So yeah, I'm going to keep having digs at you. And I think we've said this all along. I think the agenda is I'm going to keep digging at you, letting you know I want players. And if you don't give me the players in summer, then there's going to be a massive problem. And I think it's all going to elude to the
100%.
summer, and that's going to be the problem, yeah. But in
That's
terms of the toolbox, we've got players, but I've always said, why don't we give our youngsters the chance? If you're getting battered 2-0, 3-0, and some of your pros are not playing and not giving you 100%, them youngsters will be dying to come onto the pitch and give 150%. All right, we're losing 3-0, but for the 10 minutes that they come on, they might just give you a performance and a half that might warrant them to start the next game. But it's never going to happen.
Cody, final thoughts about the toolbox. Do you think he just doesn't trust what he's got left? I think you probably said that enough times already in terms of the quality of the squad. But given his admissions and given his statements about there's no chance, etc., is this not an opportunity to maybe see what some of these youngsters are like from the start?
Well, look, let's go back 1 week, okay? 1 week ago, going into the game against Southampton, we had lost 3 times under Conte, not including Mura. We'd lost 3 times to Chelsea, okay? Now, if we go and lose to Southampton, and he hauls Harry Winks out of the squad, or he hauls Højbjerg or Bentancur or whoever out of the squad and puts Harvey White in against Wolves, and we get battered, what are we even saying about him if he's doing that? Like, we really only come to a situation here in the season under Conte where we have now lost 2 games that we expected to win, whereas basically every other game you could say that we have either performed to expectation in terms of the result, or we've exceeded expectation in terms of the result. So I don't think that we can really look at Conte and say that he hasn't been using the tools at his disposal when a lot of the tools that we're talking about as far as options are unproven kids. You know, even Roden hasn't proven anything. He hasn't been given much opportunity, but he hasn't proven much since he came to Tottenham. So are we going to get to a point where it becomes clear to everybody involved that what Conte has been saying since the first day that he came in, that the situation isn't simple, that the level of the Tottenham isn't so high? Are we going to get to a point where everybody accepts that and says, okay, now is the time to blood in some of these players like Harvey White, right? Like Maxim Piscozzi, maybe. But if he abandons the core group of players that have performed so well, just 8 days ago we were talking about the likes of Davinson Sanchez and Harry Winks as being rejuvenated. Even Eric Dyer has looked like a better player. Even Hugo Lloris has looked like a better player, right?
I must admit, I got caught out with the bloody Sanchez and Winks one. I got caught out. I'm not going.
Oh man! As soon as I tweet something nice about Davinson Sanchez, he just reverts to type. You know what I mean? And of course, it just coincides with the window closing. You know what I mean? But no, I mean, I think if Conte was reactionary and benched some of these players that have been solid up until now, but historically have been lacking in talent, I think we would have all looked at him as he's being a little bit reactionary, a little bit knee-jerk. You know, he's going to lose the dressing room. That kind of stuff would be getting said. Conte finds himself, especially from a public relations media standpoint, he finds himself in a Kobayashi Maru, a no-win situation, because if he comes out and says nice things and talks about top 4 and everything like that, and is towing the company line and is got his pom-poms out and everything like that, he's going to look like a fucking idiot when these players revert to type like they have done in the past 8 days. But he's been consistent from day one with his message. So nobody should be surprised that he's come out and said that. And I think that, you know, like we think of a lot of what Conte, we look at Conte as somebody who, as an Italian-speaking man, he's articulate in his use of the English language. He's very deliberate, he's truthful, he's thoughtful, but that's still, it is not his first language. And we have to remember that when he comes out and is quoted saying things like, because this whole thing about 1% of top 4, this is getting blown way out of proportion, right? Because if you watch the interview that he says he only needs a 1% chance to challenge for a goal. Usually that is winning the league. But at Spurs right now, that 1%, he has at least a 1% chance of top 4. That's what he's saying. That's all he needs is a sliver of hope to chase. You know, he's not necessarily saying that our odds of getting top 4 when we're amongst it is 1 in 100. So I think that there's some things. I mean, basically, if we can start to limit how many times he gets asked the same fucking questions, maybe we won't start to get pissed off with some of the repetitive answers. You know, like how many different ways can an Italian manager speaking his second language explain the same fucking thing over and over to these media members? You know, get it through your head. The squad is not good enough for what the fans expect, and when you have fans booing the crap out of the players at halftime, and I don't blame them. I don't get this stigma that some people are like, well, they get behind the team. How are you going to applaud that shower of shit that we just watched for the first half of the Wolves game and the Southampton game, right? You're either looking at getting booed or dead silence. And believe me, if I'm paying my money, I'm booing those motherfuckers because they deserved it. They weren't representing the badge with pride. They weren't doing the bare minimum. They weren't doing basics. Right?
I agree,
give it to them. Give them the hair dryer treatment.
Yep, and I won't even go to the next game. That's what I'll do. I'll second that as well and not go to the next game. Boo them and then not bother going.
Gentlemen, as we do, definitely part therapy for me. Definitely part therapy. It's been really good. I've had, Good comments. We've seen some good comments. We've all seen some really good comments, and you guys have given your opinions as well, which has been really good. Before we go, Cody, just let the viewers know where they can find you.
Yeah, find me on Twitter at ComacDo. Just don't be surprised if you see a cynic on there. You know, like that's the me. I'm not filtering it. I made the mistake of saying something nice about Davinson Sanchez. I'm not doing that again, okay? They are what they are.
I did the same thing. That's why I'm laughing, because I did exactly the same thing. I said, this guy's he's all right. He's not too bad. And then I saw what happened. And if you all remember the game that Davinson Sanchez played against Manchester City when we played at their ground last time.
Oh, my days.
Any repeat performances of that, if this guy's playing, and there's going to be more memes going. I don't want that. I really don't. I don't know. Anyway, let's. We've got other preview shows to look forward to for that. So let's end on a positive note. Thanks all viewers for watching. Thanks all for the comments. We've had over 200 odd comments in here. It's been really, really good. Still over 40 of you watching. Smash that like button now. Smash that like button. Hit that like button just to support the channel. Obviously, go across and look out for Cody on Twitter as well. Look out for these other two up here, Sid and Shawnee. They're on Twitter. They'll be back on Paxton Road at some point as well. Guys, are you doing anything on Friday, Sid? Because otherwise, it's going to be bloody the preview show on Saturday.
Going for a little walk under the moon. No, I'm going to be... Ask Sid is coming back on Friday. Yeah, I'll be doing Ask Sid on Friday. So if anyone's got any burning questions, anything you want to ask, Friday evening, I'll be back. Haven't got anyone as a guest at the moment. So if anyone's available, anybody wants to come on the show, discuss Tottenham and whatever else is on their chest, give me a shout on Twitter or give Paxton Road crew a buzz and we'll get you on.
Yay. I look forward to that show. I also look forward to our preview show on Saturday. It's going to be great, isn't it? When we do the score predictions, that's going to be the best bit. Score predictions, lads. How do you think that's going to go down?
I've already told you my score prediction for this one. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one immensely. Anyway. Time to go. Sid, Sean, Cody, it's been a pleasure. It's been a fantastic show. People have commented to that. They've said it's been really good. Any ideas for any others in the future? Obviously, we talk anything Tottenham. We needed to do this. Again, I'm not saying Conte is a bad manager. Far from it. He's the best manager we've had for a very, 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 very long time. There are things within the setup that we don't know about that need to be addressed. I'm just hoping that this guy gets to the summer and he gets back and we can then really see what we're about. But yeah, it's going to be a bumpy road till then. But anyway,
Yes.
let's enjoy the bumps.
Strap in.
Friday.
Rollercoaster.
Just going on Friday. I might have it called the Three Amigos that have departed the club. What's happened to the Three Amigos?
They're
'Cause
bloody
that's gonna
doing
be
all
an
right.
interesting club. Exactly.
Tango's bloody
Yeah.
doing all right. Sorry, go on, Cody.
That's
What
what
were you
I'm
going to say?
Just before we end off, I'm seeing that there's some new comments from Conte coming out of Football Italia. So I'll read this just quickly.
Go on.
And what happened in January was not easy. We lost 4 players in January, 4 important players for Tottenham, and we brought in only 2. So even just in terms of numbers, rather than reinforce the squad, we on paper weakened it. Bentancur and Kulusevski are ideal prospects for Tottenham because Tottenham are seeking young players that can develop and grow, not players who are ready. That is the issue. This is the vision and the philosophy of the club. It is inevitable that if you want to grow quicker and if you want to be competitive more rapidly, you need players with a lot of experience because they also raise the experience level of the overall team. But I repeat, I have realized now that this is the vision of the club.
Oh man, Cody, why do that now? Wow.
But but you know what? That makes sense because look, we're after that non-league youngster. We're after that youngster from Nottingham Forest. So, you know what? I need to go anyway. But let's leave another conversation for another day.
This is definitely. I need to go. Thanks, Cody. Yeah, you're welcome. Welcome anytime. You're welcome anytime. Bloody hell! I was trying to end on a good note.
As Clarkson said, on that bombshell.
Let's go. Oh, thank you very much, Sid. Definitely thank you very much, Cody. And thank you very much, Sean. It is time to go now. It's time to go and find a beer. That's what I'm going to go and do.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Thank you.
Come on, you Spurs.
It's been Talking Points. And we'll